Hello, friends. Welcome to Akulmach Live. I'm your host, CK. As always, we have a very interesting guest joining us today. His name is Benny Rubinstein. He's joining us from Israel. He's a former global sales lead with a lot of corporates, global MNCs, including Microsoft. He's alumni of Wharton and Harvard. He's also the founder of BZR Insights, helping a lot of CEOs to excel in their business. And he is also doing, research in the area of AI. So today we have a very interesting subject to discuss with Benny, and this is about the you know predictions for 2025 in especially in the healthcare space with regard to AI. So without further ado, let's welcome Benny to our show. Hey Benny,
Thank you
how
so
are
much.
you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me back.
Great, Benny. So we always love discussing the technology with you. A lot of AI discussion we have been having with you lately, and today, because the year has just started, and this is the right time. We are in the third week of January in 2025, and we are discussing the healthcare. The topic is what you can predict for the coming year in this area of AI. So your opening comments, Benny.
Yes, well, thank you so much, CK. I think that we are at the verge of some really interesting things. 2025, there will be quite a lot of action on this space. As usual with innovation, some of them might really take off, some of them might just fade, but there's no shortage of exciting things for us to talk about today.
Great. So, the first question that is coming to my mind is, what are the most significant technology advancements in healthcare that you foresee that will impact the patient care? That's the first question.
Yeah, so there are many interesting things coming out there, and I'll try just to touch upon one or two of the ones we haven't talked about. There is a lot of progress on AI machine learning integration. We talked last time about diagnosis, predictive analysis, a lot of those things that AI is already enabling today. On the clinical decision support system, for example, which is part of my area of research. I wanted to maybe touch upon a few things we haven't discussed yet, and it's very possible that we'll see amazing changes on the administrative efficiency of healthcare systems. What do we mean by that? We all burdened by all the tasks from patients' admissions to a hospital until discharge. Uh, all kinds of financial administrative matters, billing, etc., etc. We are seeing very good progress on AI, both in generative AI and more classic AI, in order to address them. We haven't talked much about agentic AI. It's become the new buzzword out there. Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn, is giving a course next week at the Wharton Executive Program, talking about his book called Super Agents. But it's very likely that we'll see a relief of our resources that could be deployed on simply connecting with the patient, which is an amazing thing. Demonstrating empathy and really spending more time on looking at data and making smart decisions versus having to deal with all these things that we probably don't want to deal with. One more area that I see a lot of progress, it was also part of my literature review, was on the what's called the immersive telemedicine. So we talked a bit about AR, the augmented reality, virtual reality, lots of those devices that are already being used for surgeries and things like that. We'll start to really see a major progress on the robotic side of things, like systems that could be controlled remotely, while patients can, receive consultations from both a physical environment where physicians are present, as well as from some environments that are part of the augmented reality thing. So this is all really exciting. There are a couple of things that are not particularly new, but certainly will have high chances of really taking off this year, such as some advanced wearables. We'll talk about it later, but there are anything from what we already know, our watches and this and that, but there are also smart implants and wearable devices that can monitor cardiac activity, blood sugar level, and also some biological functions that could enable better chronic disease management, for example, and could also improve the patient's quality of life. So there's a lot, and last but not least, I wanted to talk a bit about genomics. We talked a little bit about it last week. It's a very extensive topic, but genomic-driven prevention is something that might really happen. We all heard about CRISP, how you can edit genes. It sounds a bit crazy, but we're really going to see a lot of progress on personalized medicine. Personalized treatment plans. The whole area of preventive medicine will develop quite a lot with that. And one more thing, actually, I wanted to touch upon, where I do see a lot of progress, both in different industries like financial services, as well as in healthcare, is on gamified behavioral modification. And what that means is really being able to use gamification to increase, for example, incentives for adherence to a prescribed health plan, right? It doesn't help to have a prescription if you're not going to do it. So all kinds of things that will foster long-term behavior change. That's ultimately what medicine should be about. And today we are kind of still dealing with the acute care healthcare system and dealing with more reactive versus proactive medicine. So lots and lots of things happening. Patients will benefit from much better early diagnosis that could get a lot better results for them. And it's important to highlight that this is pending some advancements, mostly on data privacy and some resolutions on ethical considerations, having robust governance frameworks. But again, the advancements on the technology itself are very, very promising, very substantiated by both clinical research as well as by validation in the industry. A lot of great startups will talk about doing things like that. So very, very promising year for the advancement of those things that we have been talking about for many years.
Well, Benny, I have a small question, or you can say it's a doubt. A couple of years back, Google actually did a patent of a contact lens which could actually measure a lot of vitals of the patients. Do you know, or are you at a liberty to talk about that? Did you come across any update on that during your research? Because that's a game changer. I think you've also mentioned wearable, and this could be very, very good wearable where you don't have to really bother about monitoring your sugar or your heart rate, etc. If your contact lens can measure it for you. So do you have any update on that, or did you learn anything about that?
Yeah, I briefly came across some of that. It wasn't part of this particular research paper, but as you say, there is quite a lot of promising fields, and this is one of them. I unfortunately don't have so much more details, but again, think of a lot of new ways we can actually get predictions. We're trying to predict 2025. Well, we're going to be able to use a lot of different devices, a lot of different predictors, and again, the whole power of high performance computing combined with AI, machine learning, deep learning, genetic algorithms. It's going to give us an incredible amount of power to try and do different kind of predictive analysis of different signals.
All right, let's move on to the next question, Benny, and that is the AI. How artificial intelligence being integrated into healthcare, and what are some of the breakthrough applications that we should eye, especially in 2025?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, there are things that are not necessarily new, but that are really, really starting to take off, and I think this year will be a major one. And one of them is telemedicine or telehealth, right? Over a decade ago, when I was in Microsoft Research on the Health Solutions Group, we were already discussing the telehealth opportunities with the NHS and other entities. It's evolved. It actually took off a little bit more with COVID, with the whole pandemic. We saw, for example, here in Israel, startups like Bina.ai and many others getting a lot of traction in many countries. But now I think that the real opportunity is going to be for what we call the virtual health solutions. So those are like platforms that also use AI chatbots, virtual assistants, and they're going to become sort of not a replacement for your doctor, of course, but they're going to be doing some preliminary assessments. They're going to be doing some inquiries to patients. They're going to basically improve patient experience and ensure that you have sort of a timely care experience. Um, we also talked a bit about personalized medicine, but I want to talk about two things in particular here. One of them, which is going to be major, is mental health applications. This is a topic that's again coming quite strongly, both on research for AI as well as in sort of the startup world. I'm actually part of a group at Wharton called the Wharton AI Studio. We're doing kind of a give back program. We are helping at no cost some startups that are very promising in the AI space, and one of them is mental health app. It's really starting to get a lot of traction. We talked last time about robotics in surgery. That's really an area of amazing progress when you can have minimally invasive techniques with a much higher precision. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pause for here. That there's just so much to talk about, but this is kind of where we really see, the combination of robotics, AI, and also behavioral sciences come into play.
So do you see any new development because of the Trump administration coming up, and are they going to emphasize on AI in healthcare, or are they going to do something else? What is your opinion?
Yeah, well, it's a bit soon to know. We actually saw that the first 24 hours were already very active. Certainly, it's not going to be a boring period of time. It's still a bit unclear what that would mean for AI and for healthcare. What I would say is that this is just my take on it. We're going to see quite a lot of advancements. For example, AI can be used, as we know, not only healthcare, but in defense, in many other industries. And I think that we're going to start seeing a lot more cross-pollination. We're going to start seeing a lot of applications and new technologies being tested, coming from different industries into healthcare and vice versa. There's a hope that one of the main problems that we have in this space is data, right? Access to data. So maybe some initiatives might advance a little bit the data interoperabilities. How do we actually create better standards? This is a very old problem, but this actually could start becoming more cohesive in the next coming year. So I think that, as I said, time will tell, but we are really at the verge of really having both generative AI as well as wearable technologies really going to the next level. And again, think about it as sort of an integrated system, right? We actually talked about all those chronic disease management or whatever that will be. I think that we are going to see a lot more multidisciplinary efforts and cross specialization as well.
All right, Benny, moving on. The next question is, what role the wearable health tech will play in various aspects, including preventive medicines and, of course, monitoring, especially in 2025. We all have wearables, but what specifically happened in 2025?
Yeah, I think again we'll see a continuous health monitoring scenario. It started already a few years ago with fitness tracking, all kinds of things. I think I started to work out again this week, and I'm wearing my watch, and I'm getting all kinds of interesting things. But I think the real interesting things we'll see in 2025 are going to be, for example, with the advancement of neuroscience and a lot of people also studying our sleep patterns. There's going to be, I personally took a test here in Israel, and you actually sleep with some sort of device. It wasn't the most comfortable one, but there's better ways to do that, where you can actually monitor your sleep cycles. You can check oxygen levels, you can check heart rate during your rest, and you can actually start to identify conditions like sleep apnea, but you can actually do a lot more with that, both on the research side as well as on kind of preventative side. Other areas that we talked about, usually the top 5 chronic diseases account for 80% of just all the expenses in countries where we have unified health. So we're going to see relation, other heart rhythm irregularities. So, possibly being able to prevent a lot of strokes and heart failures, right? Going back to what we said, we have already a lot of technologies to deal with patients once they are ill and once they are admitted in a hospital. But hopefully we're going to see a lot more this year of preventive medicine. How do we actually get people out of the hospital? How do we actually get them to stay healthy, which is the real objective here. So I think those are interesting things that we'll see. And I can give you some examples. Here in Israel, for example, we have a startup called Xtrodes. It came from Tel Aviv University, won some awards in startup competitions, and they have a wearable which can actually monitor your brain activity outside of your clinical setting. So it could actually revolutionize neurological diagnostics and monitoring, and has really a whole sleeve of opportunities ahead. So that's just one out of many different examples of things in that space.
So I think the focus this year will be on the mental health as well as monitoring. I think that is where most of the advancements that we will see, isn't it? If I have understood correctly, Benny.
Yeah, and one thing I should point out, which is kind of obvious, but just to remind us, we are in a year where, despite a temporary ceasefire in the Middle East, we've been at war for over a year, almost a year and a half. Ukraine war has been going on for a while, so there's quite a lot of conflicts going on there, which we hope eventually will settle, but it might still take a long time. So using all those things such as telemedicine and augmented reality, all those things are not just futuristic things. They're things that are already being used, especially in in battlefields, right? We tend to think about how we can better use our resources, right? So we use a lot of this technology in rural areas, in areas where it's a bit harder to access health professionals. But think about war zones. I mean, it's super hard, first of all, to get there, to have the equipment there, to get actually connectivity, even with 5G. So a lot of these technologies are already being used. There's actually a paper I came across recently that talks about that in both the Ukraine and the conflict here in the Middle East. So again, there will be a lot of external factors that, in a way, are also driving that advancement. There's a lot of people injured in the military. They are being treated with some of these remote monitoring telehealth capabilities. So this is like already happening, and despite our hope that the conflicts will end soon, they will continue to develop and be deployed. So at the end of the day, we are trying to really empower both patients and physicians, even if they're not physically at the same place. And we also really going to see, I think, a better allocation of the resource in healthcare, right? One of the key challenges we have is not even scientific, it's just we have a shortage of doctors, of nurses in most countries. They are exhausted and working too many hours. So we want to use that so they can actually focus on the patient, focus on their own health and their own mental health, and get the collective goodwill for the entire ecosystem.
All right, Benny. So let's move on to the next question, and that is, you mentioned telemedicine and how the evolution of that telemedicine is going to potentially transform the healthcare accessibility. You already mentioned the conflicts that are happening across the world. You already mentioned that how the military is using these technology to take care of their soldiers. But the real success will happen if the masses start to adapt. And you also mentioned AR and VR technologies. At this point in time, they are beyond the reach of the masses because of the cost implications. So uh, the question really is, in 2025, all these technologies will reach the masses, will be used by common man across at least the major countries across the world?
Yeah. So to be a bit more concrete, I think that one of the main things that we might see this year, hopefully, we've been working on that for many years, is a considerable reduction in hospital readmissions, right? Back when I was in Microsoft Research, we had to do a lot of work because there was a significant number of patients who were hospitalized and were readmitted within 30 days. That led the U.S. administration at the time to even create some sort of financial penalty, so you wouldn't be reimbursed as a healthcare provider if your patient was readmitted within 30 days. It means probably you haven't given them the best possible service within those period that the person was admitted. So we're hoping that this continuous monitoring, these early interventions, this personalized care plan, this behavioral changes to increase adherence, all those things in combined will make people stay less often in hospitals, stay for shorter time, and actually take much longer to be readmitted, right? So those are particular things that if you really think about combining telemedicine with wearables, with AR, with all the things we talked about, we are hoping that the breakthroughs in advanced technologies like 5G networks, enabling some high quality video consultations. As we said, a lot of the administrative things that can be also improved with AI, such as making virtual appointments, all those things that really consume a lot of our resources, hopefully will get out of the way, and we're going to see kind of a comeback of a patient-doctor encounter where there is eye contact, where there is actually empathy, where there is actually time to focus on people and not on systems and administrative matters. And also, again, as we said, to reach out to people if they are in a war zone, if they are in a rural area. We are going to see a lot more equity in terms of how do we deliver those services in emerging markets, hopefully. So there's quite a lot of things. Again, we won't see 100% of that happen in 2025, but I think we'll see significant inroads and some big leapfrog advancements this year, hopefully.
All right, Benny. So I think that brings us to the last question of our conversation today, and that is about the challenges, because the success cannot happen without any roadblocks. So, what are the key challenges and opportunities that are associated with personalized medicines, and how this is going to shape the future, specifically in 2025?
Yeah. Again, I'll get to the challenges in a minute. I just want to maybe frame it before we even get to the challenges, because I think they are more or less known. I want to overemphasize there is quite a lot of innovation, both in AI as well as in medicine, that can be rolled out this year. I'll give one more example. A lot of good success on analyzing speech patterns. There are devices, there are companies that are using even your smartphone can detect some early signs of mental health issues like depression, stress, etc. So there's no shortage of scenarios where we can already enable these treatments to be done earlier, better. The real thing here is, in terms of challenges, is going to be number one, the cost and the accessibility of those solutions, right? A lot of these solutions are amazing. Can people afford them in the brick markets? Can they work in places where internet connectivity is not that great, right? So there's all these things that are always kind of on the way. Maybe you can get it to work in perfect conditions, but is that scalable? Is that going to drive what we call AI for all? Is that going to be fair? So I think those are some of the challenges, along with the well-known data privacy and security matters. As we know, no data, no innovation, right? So how do we keep improving the ability we have to provide great service with privacy and security, but at the same time still be able to share data, and whether it's sensitive genetic data, health data. We need to protect patient privacy, but we need to be able to create these frameworks that are robust but agile, so we can deliver on that. So regulatory frameworks are going to be, a key obstacle. Frankly, that's one of my personal main areas of concern, right? A lot of debates there, not a lot of progress yet. I think maybe the next U.S. administration, the new one, might expedite some matters. European Union still a little bit slow there. And then one area that I wanted to emphasize as well is very important. That was part of my current study that I plan to submit soon. It's evidence-based validation, right? So how do we demonstrate the cost effectiveness and the clinical utility of these personalized medicine approaches? That could be challenging, right? I mean, think about a generic study where we take a larger population, and now think about some very personalized things, some very rare diseases. The economics here are slightly different, right? And so, are we going to be able to really drive the conclusions, validate, get FDA approval? All those things could be challenging sometimes. Sometimes, being 80% right sooner is better than being 90% right too late, right? So there's a lot more. We didn't even talk about drug development. That's another area that we hope that we'll be able, this is both an opportunity and a challenge, if we're able to use AI, use all the things that we talked about, genetics, etc., or integrate all that also in the drug development process. That's approaches for targeted, effective therapies, right? So this would really reduce the time and the cost for bringing new drugs to the market, and also to identify what are the patient subgroups that most likely will benefit from certain treatments. So again, there is the two sides of the coin. The more we advance, the more we use different devices, different components, whether they're genetics or others, to come up with this personalized medicine. The more we need to be able to integrate all that, the more we need to share data, the more we will need a really robust infrastructure to actually deliver that across the globe, right? So again, we'll hopefully see a lot of empowerment for patients, for citizens, being more in charge of their own health, because they will have more better options. They will have better attention from their physicians. But as I said, devil's on the details, right? Are we going to be able to make those transitions in a more agile manner, or we have to spend a lot of time to deal with these challenges that we just talked about? That's probably the bigger question I will have for 2025.
I think you're absolutely right. The tariff war has already started. There are large concentration of humanity, especially EU, India, China, US, Brazil. Probably we can count Nigeria also. So the whole question is the production line. When the tariffs are being asked, all these large economies are now going to increase tariffs. So reach to the masses of these different devices, production and the assembly line should be extended. So I think these are certain challenges which I also foresee from my side. So Benny, you have mentioned very exciting things that we can expect in healthcare space in this conversation. You also mentioned about wearable technology advancement and introduction of AR and VR, and also telemedicine. So thank you so much for sharing your insights. I think this is going to be an exciting year.
Thank you so much, CK. Again, I am cautiously optimistic. I think that if you summarize this whole conversation, I would say we will hopefully see a shift from a shift towards preventive care, right? There's no better treatment than not getting sick. And sometimes even the incentives are not aligned. Sometimes a sick person gets a lot of entities to actually be able to charge, right? So there's a lot of change that will happen. The technology is coming really, really rapidly to place. Again, it's more how society will adjust the surroundings to really enable this innovation to materialize, drive results, and also, as I said, be available for the majority of the population. So let's all stay healthy. Let's all hope for great changes. We're seeing a new year, starting with new governments, new perspectives for geopolitics, and I'm very optimistic that we'll see some truly amazing improvements, not just in the way we treat patients, but in the way that we keep human beings more physically and mentally healthy. So let's all stay positive and wishing the best for all of us.
Thank you, Benny. It was a pleasure talking to you. It was great fun and a great learning session. Thank you so much. Have a nice week ahead.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
So we had a fantastic discussion with Benny. We learned so many things are going to happen in the healthcare space, especially with advancements of AR, VR, and different technologies, new methodologies, and the focus on reducing cost, improving the reach, and improving the healthcare system. So I think let's wait and watch. This is just the beginning. We will keep visiting this subject. Just in case if you have any questions or if you want to reach out to Benny directly, his coordinates are given in the description below. So friends, thanks for joining us live. See you in the next one.